What is up, guys? Patch 13 for Arena of Valor is about to drop. There's a lot of awesome changes coming to the game. Optimization, inbuilt Valor Cup tournaments, loads of great features. But what we're going to talk about today is the hero balance changes. So just the heroes, not items, just the heroes. And look at who's been most affected by this patch, who's being nerfed, who's being buffed, and what we can expect will happen to the current meta based on those changes. So without further ado, we're going to jump straight in. We're using the Samurai Gamers rundown. If you don't know Samurai Gamers, they're a Southeast Asia organization, produce a lot of great Arena of Valor content. I include a link to their website down in the description, so feel free to check them out. But let's go into it. So, L'Oreal. Divine Punishment, her passive, the slow effect is reduced from 90% to 50%. Obviously a huge nerf as far as the slow capacity on her passive. So for those that don't understand or know about her passive is essentially every 4 abilities used on an enemy causes a proc that will do damage to the enemy and slow them. Previously 90%, now going to be 50%. Now that's also huge because of her ultimate. Her ultimate Smite lays down an area, deals damage when it starts, when it finishes, but during that time, while in that area, her ability's cooldown is significantly reduced. Now, what that means is that she's going to get a lot more passive procs during that time. This made it incredibly hard to get away from L'Oreal during those moments, because obviously you're getting those passive procs 90% slow, it's borderline close to a stun. You aren't running away at all in those circumstances, and because of the situation, obviously having reduced cooldown during her ultimate, it was ridiculous. So a massive nerf on the slow, gonna make it a lot more decisive whether you choose to fight L'Oreal when she throws down her ultimate, and gives you a lot more of a potential to get away if you do have any dashes and things as well. So that's good for her, good for us, sorry. Good for other mages as well. L'Oreal's seen a lot of play, and hopefully nerfs to people like L'Oreal and Tulin, who we'll get to in a bit, will open up the pool a little bit, open up a lot more for those standard kind of base mages, less mobile assassins. But obviously we had Liana added, we'll touch on that in a bit. Going down the mage list, we have Kali. So Kali, not played a lot. I actually play with my friend Treason, who loves Kali, plays quite a lot of her. He's going to love this patch. There's a lot of really positive changes for some of the heroes that he plays, Kali being the first of them. So I'm not going to run through each of that word for word. What we can see is overall like I said, it says here in Samurai Guns, it looks like a nerf based on the numbers, but overall it's a buff. Something that's basically huge is they previously realized that her ultimate was not shooting the amount of bullets it stated. Now, I think it's something like 55 bullets, 55 wraiths, I think it refers to as, I don't know, something like 55 wraiths that her ultimate throws out. It was not throwing out nearly as much as that. So essentially, I think it's about a 50% damage boost to her ultimate now. And I've seen her ultimate melt people, even in the late game. When people have built some sort of magic defense, it doesn't matter. So that's a huge buff for her by the end game particularly. Kali was always an end game focused mage. Now she's going to be even more ridiculous if you get to that stage. Speaking of those mages, another one of my friend's favorite heroes in that mid lane, Praetor. Praetor sees a lot of play in the mid lane across most regions at high end sort of levels. Requires quite a decent amount of skill to play well, and because of that fact, you see genuinely very good or very poor Praetors depending on who you're with. Again, initially this kind of looked like a nerf because the numbers were being changed. But what I failed to realize initially is that the charge on the Plague Spectre only went to 200% currently, and is now going up to 300%. So while the numbers have been nerfed initially on his Plague Spectre, it rewards you charging fully. And obviously great Praetor players will be trying to get a maximum charge on that Plague Spectre as much as possible. They're the ones that will be landing it. So if you are a good Praetor player, this is rewarding you. This is going to give you that little bit more damage. Not that he needed it if you were playing him well by the late game. He's ridiculous anyway. So this is great stuff. and the poison gas bomb being able to be cast immediately after Plague Spectre. Again, rewarding good mechanical gameplay, being able to tap abilities well and fast. This will just clean that up a little bit and make it that little bit smoother. Quite a well-used tactic by the better players of Praetor is that they'll use the poison gas bomb to push enemies into the full charge Plague Spectre. So that being able to time that even better, great stuff. Really, really good mechanical update there for Praetor, and that's gonna benefit them a lot. Vera. Now Vera, here they've basically given her a little bit of a buff, mana decrease on her Hellbat, the cooldown reduction as well, so she can use it more often. Vera doesn't see a lot of of gameplay in the higher tiers and higher ranks or in the pro elements. She doesn't require a mass amount of skill to play. Don't get me wrong, every hero requires a certain amount of skill, and there's always going to be a massive difference between experienced players on a hero and those that haven't played them very much. But she's very immobile, she doesn't have any escapes, and she's very cooldown reliant. One-on-one, she's going to melt you. But once those cooldowns are down, or if she gets CC'd, she's in a bit of a bad position. So Hellbat, a little bit of a buff, might give her a little bit more gameplay. I don't think it's going to be enough to push her into meta play. Even with the nerfs to some of the current meta hero choices in the mid lane, I don't think it's going to be enough. But if you play Vera already, it's a nice little positive for you. Carrying on with the mages. Natalia. Again, one of my friend's favoured heroes. He's recently got into playing Natalia. We've all played against Natalias. The early game damage that comes out of a Natalia is ridiculous. It is the single, one of the single mages that will make me pick up a Gaia's or a Medallion really early in most team fights, because the damage is ridiculous early, and she's only getting buffed even more. So Arcane Spirit, so that's where she fires out her spirits. Basically, it's going to be harder to dodge. It's going to go that little bit faster. Again, rewarding good mechanical skill on this hero, being able to aim your skill shots properly or predict enemy movement a little bit more accurately. So that's cool. Lethal Raise, her ultimate. We've all seen the Beam of Death in team fights. Natalia now will immediately remove all control effects when the cast thing. Huge buff for her. So if you're CC'd and someone's low health near you, you can just boom, Ray of Death, get yourself out of CC, kill the enemy off if they're not prepared for that level of damage, and maybe survive. So a buff to Natalia, that might be enough. I've seen some really good Natalia players in sort of the Platinum Diamond tier. Whether she kind of starts seeing more regular play in even the higher tiers than that, maybe this will be enough, because she will own the early game if you allow her to snowball. Jinnar. Now, Jinnar's a weird one. Jinnar, when I see a good Jinnar played, or the team composition around a Jinnar works amazingly, it works amazingly. His Nirvana has such good synergy with a lot of CC and a lot of AoE skills within the game that in the right composition it can work brilliantly. Speaking of Nirvana, his ultimate, it's been changed slightly. Essentially what this change means is he previously gained damage mitigation based around when he initiated his ultimate. So say he was around one enemy hero and initiated his ultimate, he'd get a set amount of damage reduction based on him being around one enemy hero. What it's changed to now is to become more fluid. So if you start it and you're around one hero, one enemy hero, then that's what you get. But then when you move into a team fight where there's 3 or 4 of the enemies, you gain extra damage reduction based on the amount of people actually around you at any one time, and that's consistently changing. This is really good as well, because previously he'd have to be in the middle of the fight to then boom, use his Nirvana properly and gain that damage reduction to its greatest effect. Now you can see as well there's a movement speed increase. So he's got movement speed increase over 2.5 seconds instead of 1.5, and it's 80% instead of 70. Now what that means is that he can use his ultimate outside of a team fight, charge into that big team fight, gain the damage reduction as soon as he enters that team fight, because it's going to be fluid now, and he's obviously going to have that extra time period to get in and out of the fight if needed with that movement speed. So that's really good. That might be enough to push him up a little bit. I've seen Jinnar jungle work. But like I said, he's very team composition reliant. But in the right teams and in the right hands, he can be really dangerous in those massive team fights where he can deal some crazy damage. With people like L'Oreal and Tulin being nerfed, and buffs coming the way of Jinnar, Natalia, Praetor, etc., it might be time for some of these other mages to maybe creep into the mound. However, we do have Liliana, obviously it's been released. We'll touch on her in a little bit, but I think she's going to fall square into the meta. She's extremely strong. Crixie, another kind of overlooked mid lane mage. Passive, reduction of movement speed from 30% to 25%, so a little bit of a nerf to her Flutter. However, her Mischief and Moonfall are both getting buffed, I believe. So her Mischief is magic damage increase, so that's her throwing out her Sprite, I believe. And Moonfall is her ultimate. I might be wrong on the Mischief there, but we'll find out soon. I'm sure you guys will let me know. When she casts her ultimate, her movement speed is increased by 15% now. And she can use her ultimate skill when there is no enemy around. So, two things. It means you can ult from a bush and charge into a lane, very similar to as we just discussed with Jinnar's Nirvana. And that she can get in, do damage, and get out quicker because she's got that movement speed buff. It basically allows for Crixie to gank a lot better and to initiate ambushes a little bit more effectively. Ignis, again, he was buffed previously a couple of patches ago. He's now going to get a little bit more health every time his passive procs. He's going to gain a little bit more shield. And his ultimate, when the target is marked, the true damage is reduced from 800 to... Yeah, okay, that's basically because his passive will play off of his skills, and he will generate ridiculous amounts of health back if that true damage isn't nerfed slightly. He's got a base HP increase and a base armor increase. Basically, they're making him the tanky mage. He's the mage that's going to generate health from his abilities, generate shields from his abilities, and be able to sustain that a little bit more. If you look at the builds for Ignis, as far as the game is going to suggest, it'll include things like Beriths with armor, with the slightly tankier mage items built around this mentality of Ignis being this tanky mage that can deal damage, sustain himself, and generate shields. And they're trying to build that up that little bit more. He kind of... It says here, poor Ignis, not a patch goes by where his ultimate doesn't get toned down. I think this time his ultimate's being toned down basically because of the passive boost in this scenario. But we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Ignis, I kind of like Ignis. Be cool to see a bit more of him. Raz, brief change, fancy footwork, passive, extra magic damage from his third phase on normal attacks. A little bit of a buff, nothing dramatic here. So its comboing is going to be a little bit easier, but nothing too dramatic. Alistair, cool skin we got this season, isn't it? I like it. I like the triumphant skin on Alistair. Matrix of Woe, every strike of magic damage is changed from that to... Cool. So it's a numbers buff, but a plus AP nerf by like 0.02. It sounds like an early game buff to me. Late game, similar numbers. Early game, a little bit better. So I think he's just been buffed slightly in the early game. Nothing nothing miraculous. Violet, we're finally getting onto some marksman here, guys. Violet, reload, passive. Only if her normal attacks hit an enemy hero will the cooldown time for tactical fire reduced by 0.5 seconds. Bye-bye, jungle Violet. It was nice knowing you. Hell, she might still work in the jungle after this, but what it's saying is that previously, her auto attacks would reduce the cooldown on tactical fire. That applied to minions, to jungle creeps, etc. Allowed her to clear the jungle pretty well, pretty quickly. That's not going to be the case anymore. It's now only going to do so when you're attacking enemy heroes. So it's going to encourage her to be more in lane, or at least if you were going to play her jungle, you'd have to now be gank heavy. But I think it's trying to force people to kind of go, no, she's a marksman, guys. Get out of the jungle. So yeah, it says here Jungle Violet should remain a viable choice. She just won't be through the jungle quite as fast as before. So, in their words, yeah, basically what I said, it's a nerf. I think I'm kind of anti-Violet jungle anyway, because I think there's so many more viable picks at the moment in the jungle that do what she does better, i.e. clear and jungle and gank. There are far better heroes that gank more so than Violet, and that have a little bit more tankiness to them, a little bit more in way of stats that I feel that you kind of need in the jungle. But anyway, especially with a heavy invade meta. But I'm sure she'll still see play by the really skilled Violet junglers out there. But generally, it's kind of them saying, no, we want her in the lane. Yawn. Heartshot Ultimate. The additional magic damage equal to 10% of the target's lost HP is now at a maximum of 1,000 damage to monsters. That's not too big of a difference. Yeah, basically like it says here, it seems like it was an oversight previously and has now just been changed to kind of be included in the actual thing, so that he's not able to snipe quite as well when it comes to the big Slayers and Abyssal Dragons. Cricknack. Okay, Cricknack, I think this is a buff overall. They've stated it as a retooling. It's kind of a great word. I like it. He doesn't see mass amounts of play at the moment. He does see some play in the hands of people that love him. And I've seen players that have got ridiculous amounts of games on Cricknack. He's one of those heroes that if you like playing him, you play a lot of him. Yeah, it's kind of weird to go into it, but basically it means he can drop out of his ultimate to attack a little bit better. It's kind of a retool in there. I'll let you guys read that for yourselves so you can understand it a little bit better. But overall, it's a buff. It's them trying to kind of push, again, more variety in choices. There are a lot of heroes in the game right now, but there's also a lot of heroes that people kind of ignore. But it's good to see them getting the buffs that they need. Astrid. Bloody Guardian passive shield is changed from 650 plus hero level to 150 plus 1.5 AD. Now this, I read over this previously, and it's essentially them trying to force Astrid players to pick up damage. Astrid was designed to be tanky, but based off of like a warrior. She wants to be a warrior, not a flat out tank. And because of the way she was able to be built fairly tanky without needing the AD, they're now forcing that warrior build mentality a little bit more. We do see that further down with another hero as well, so we'll touch on that. Her ultimate change is quite nice. Previously, the lower her health was, the more damage she did, flat out. Now, it's been changed. Oh yeah, she's not slowed anymore. She used to be slowed. That's it. That was the big change I was looking for. Yeah, she used to be slowed during her ultimate. Now she isn't. That's kind of handy. It allows you to position yourself maybe a little bit better and move back so that you can still catch in range. People would kind of move out of it a little bit on the dire blow. When her ultimate skill hits a target whose HP percentage is lower than herself, it will deal 16% of the target's lost HP points due to true damage. Kind of an execute, really. Similar in the way to Thane's ultimate, in the sense that the lower the HP of the enemy, the better it is for you to use on them. So previously it was a case of the lower her HP, the more damage she did. Now it's a case of the lower, if the enemy's target health is lower than yours, you deal more damage. So now it's incentivizing you to stay healthy. Kind of a little bit of a switch up. I definitely think that this is going to push her into more of an aggressive warrior role that's going to deal a significant amount more damage instead of kind of an off-tank pseudo utility role that she's been in, you know, damage soak role that she's been in previously. So that'd be kind of cool. Fennec, bit of a bug change there, bug fix, and on his ultimate, it can now accumulate the first skill mark. So basically, his passive generates certain points of it, and then they will proc damage. His ultimate wouldn't always initially deal that as a first mark. Now it will give it. So it's a little buff, and it's going to be kind of handy for him. It increases his ability to clear epic monsters. That's kind of handy. So Violet jungle out, Fennec jungle up, maybe? Who knows? Scud, my man. I love Scud. Scud. He's getting a buff. Now, what this is basically, his power glove. Previously, you'd activate it, you hit the enemy, you have a slow and deal damage. That's now going to scale. So similar to kind of Teamy's Pooty Poots, which I love saying, the longer you hold it, the more damage it's going to do. Up to, I think, 60%, I remember reading, I want to say. I think it goes up to a maximum of 60%. Cast skill, increase 20% change. Yeah, damage per 0.5 seconds. So it's up to max increase of 100%. Okay, I thought I read 60% elsewhere. So yeah, basically it's Power Glove. You can hide in a bush, charge up your Power Glove, get the gank, boom, loads of damage. That's going to encourage you to play Scud Warrior. I like Scud Support because that's just who I am as a person. You know me, support mains for life. But I think that's still going to be a lot of fun, especially if you like playing aggressive supports or you want a very disruptive warrior that's going to deal a little bit more damage. Scud is now your man. Kilgruff, we're getting there, guys. Slowly but surely. Sorry, this is going to be a long video. There's a lot of changes this patch. Oh god, that's a lot of changes. Kilgruff basically has not seen too much play. He's kind of been outshone by heroes like Zephys, who can duel very well, stay tanky, stay mobile, stay relevant, and gank particularly well. So this is a huge buff for Kilgruff. So he can now get rid of CC. He's going to be able to cleanse himself, which is brilliant, especially with his ultimate being kind of just through the roof buffed. You know, if you keep attacking enemies, you increase the duration of your ultimate. You don't have damage anymore, so you don't have any CC anymore. You get a bit more move speed. It's just all around just nice positive changes for Kilgruff. So I like this hero. He looks cool. He's great at dueling. He's not seen much play in the meta. I'd like to see a little bit more variety and him creeping in. So maybe this will be the change that brings him back into play. Slims. Yeah, I was going to say, this was one of the things where a lot of people that I was speaking to thought Slims was going to get buffed because they don't see him played very often. But every time I see Slims played, he's ridiculous. And he's huge over in the Southeast Asia region. I've had the benefit of casting the VPL over in Southeast Asia, and Slims is picked up. He's the second most picked ADC over there, I think, I would say. So he's Flying Spear, attack speed decrease, so throw a spear, and then it'd get attack speed increase. That's been nerfed a little bit just because it didn't really lend to too much counterplay. It's not huge changes, but it's enough throughout the thing. However, he does have enhanced attack during and after his ultimate. So now he's got a little bit of a wind up and a little bit of a bonus on the end as well. Yeah, essentially as it's stated here, this moves a bit of Slim's power from his spear to his ultimate. So it encourages more of those big all-in engages using your ultimate, going full pelt, rather than kind of the poke game as much. Still going to be there, still going to see those spears flying at you, still going to hate the stun and how long it lasts. But yeah, Slims, I kind of like it. It's not really a buff or a nerf, it's kind of just a bit of a switch around. Lindis, that's just a bug change with 2 consecutive normal attacks triggering her skill passive. Yeah, it's not a big deal, that's been fixed, great, I wasn't even aware of it, probably a lot of us weren't, but it's nice that they're on it. Malok, oh Malok. This is, like I said about Astrid, I said there was one other hero I saw this. This is very similar, I think they've even said that themselves. This seems to have a similar mindset to Astrid's tweaks, in that it tries to force Malok into needing damage items. Yeah, this is what I mean. Again, you could build Malok kind of an off tank and still do crazy damage, still sustain yourself very well and still be great in team fights. Now, you kind of got to build a little bit more warrior-like if you want to be the Malok that you were previously. But overall, it will be a buff if you do build him that way. So maybe Malok warrior still going to be pretty ridiculous. And like I say, his damage was immense before, even with nothing but tank items. So yeah, now gonna have to kind of build that little bit more damage if you want the damage. Tara, Whirlwind, scaling increases. Cool, a little bit of a buff to Tara, nothing too major there. Arthur, the hero model has been updated and it looks sexy. I haven't got a picture of it right here. I can try and find it in a little bit for you maybe. But look it up, it looks cool. It's going to be great. In fact, it will be in game tomorrow, so you can all have a look at it then. I might try and get some gameplay of Arthur if I can, showing off the new model if I get a chance. Damage scaling increased. Yeah, I tell you what. Until recently, I didn't even realize it had an AP ratio on on him on any abilities, but it does. That hasn't changed. Still 0.4. Little bit of a buff to the AD. Overall numbers kind of the same. Nothing to be honest. It's more of a just a visual update more than anything. Tiny little buff though. Zenial, base armor decrease. Yeah, he's been huge in the meta recently. Since Zenial came out, he's been very prevalent in the meta, mainly in the solo lane. His Malleus cooldown has been increased. So his Malleus is his dive that where he jumps up, lands down, and stuns an enemy. That's now been kind of nerfed a little bit in the sense that it's just kind of got a little bit of a longer cooldown. So yeah, nothing major. I mean, by the end game, it's like the same, I think. Yeah, it's just as it's going. By end game, he's in the same situation, but in the earlier stages, a little bit longer. Basically, Lubu lands his third strike quicker, so now I can duel even better because Lubu was such a poor dueler before. Okay, Wukong. Monkey Business. Ultimate can cast Monkey Business for a second time within 5 seconds of the initial cast in order to gain stealth and gain increased movement speed. Because Wukong needed a buff. Oh. Right, anyway, so now he can gain stealth again. After using his ultimate. So he can stun you, then stealth. Alright. And run away. So he can stealth in, hit you, jump away, crit you, stun you, stealth, repeat. Yeah, I was going to say, he's got all burst at lower ranks. Wukong desperately needed some sort of disengage. He did. He didn't desperately need it. I think I liked the fact that he was one of those heroes that would burst someone down if they got onto the back line. But once he was there, positioning became a lot more key with him to play him well. Now, it's going to make it a little bit easier for people like myself who aren't the greatest Wukong players to suddenly play Wukong and get away with it a little bit better. So, yeah, he's got the those Wukong mains have just, they're jumping for joy right now because if they were poning people before, they're really going to do it now. Irene, magic defense improved from none to some. Didn't even know she didn't have any. I presume she would always have some. She's pretty tanky. Generally, and it's kind of built in that tanky sort of way. Now she's going to be a little bit tanky on the early game. That's kind of helpful for her. And like I said, it seems more like an oversight rather than buff. Yeah, it kind of seems like they should have put that in when she was brought in. Natcroft, improved cast animation. 2 skills can be casted immediately after one another. Again, seems like an oversight. They should kind of make him even, I like the word slippery. They've used it here well. I agree. Natcroft's pretty slippery anyway. He's now going to be extra slippery. Non-SEA heroes. So that applies to us Europeans. Tulin. Oh, Tulin. You're getting a nerf. Not a huge nerf, but a nerf. Basically, his passive damage is lowered, so the electric that will fly off of him doesn't deal quite as much damage anymore. That's about it, really. He needed a nerf. I don't think it's enough to push him out of meta. Even with buffs to other heroes, but it's something. Teamy. Let's see what they do with Teamy. Chain Lance approach speed lowered. So they lowered his Lance before, they're lowering it again. Teamy, he's been nerfed over the last couple of patches. He's still one of the most banned heroes. He's still extremely strong. His ultimate gives so much, allows for such aggressive play in team fights that in the late game, it's so huge. I mean, mitigating, nearly a minute of someone not being part of the game by using an ultimate, that's so powerful in a game like Arena of Valor. I don't think any nerf to his Chain Lance is going to make a difference at this point. Superman. Oh, Superman. When I see Superman, I go all Lex Luthor. Man of Steel cooldown increased from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. Man of Steel is his self CC cleanse, his B. So that's going up a little bit, so he can't cleanse quite as often, so he's going to have to pick that a little bit smarter, I guess, but it's not a huge increase. Speeding Bullet, early leveled cooldowns increased. Cool, brilliant. So his ultimate, it's going to be a little bit longer in the early stages. By the late game, it's exactly the same and just as annoying. As they've said here, it's a start, but not much. I wouldn't really call that a nerf. I wouldn't really call that. It is a nerf on paper. It's not going to make a blind bit of difference. Guarantee you, Superman has just been released in NA, and people are working to get him at the moment over in North America and Latin America. We've had him in Europe for ages. He's ridiculous. He's pretty much 100% ban rate, pickle ban rate in ranked at higher standards and in the professional scene. I don't think this is enough to take him out of action at all. Here comes the newcomer, Liliana. Shining Light scaling reduced. So yeah, she does a lot of damage. She's kind of overpowered. I will be trying to create a video over the next sort of coming week about what makes a hero overpowered in a MOBA, and using Liliana or using Superman, etc., as examples of how that works and when a hero becomes overpowered and what makes that happen, what sort of situation has to arise for a hero to become overpowered. So I'll talk about that at a later point, hopefully. Roma, final one. When blade damage lowered. So yeah, he does a lot of damage, particularly in the early game when you haven't got any defensive items. Laning against him was pretty painful. He doesn't have any mana. Yeah, he can just spam those abilities on you, and if he lands them, you're going to get poked down to high hell. It makes it really difficult to lane against him in the early stages. So lowering that damage a little bit, kind of helpful. So yeah, there you have it, guys. That's patch 13. That's the hero overview. They're my thoughts on everything. If you disagree with anything I've said, or you've got other thoughts on anything I've said, please post it in the comments below. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm hopefully going to be producing a lot more Arena of Valor content over the coming weeks and months. Just finding my feet now. So if you found this helpful or you enjoyed it, please show your support. Make sure you follow me over on Twitter and Twitch and LiveMe. Links will all be down in the description as well. Thank you again, Samurai Gamers, for your input on the website. I'll link that as well, so you guys can read these patch notes for yourself and keep track of things there. Thank you guys for hanging around with me while I've been narrating on for the last half hour. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and hopefully I will see you in a future video. So have a great one, guys. Peace.